Welcome to our special presentation on invasive species in our local research. Invasive species are non-native organisms that, when introduced to a new environment, can cause harm to the ecosystem, economy, or human health.
Invasive species come in many different shapes and sizes. They can range from plants, such as the tree of heaven or the Japanese barberry, to marine or aquatic life, such as the Asian carp. Invasive species also wreak havoc on agricultural land. They compete with crops and nutrients, and they also disrupt the multi-billion-dollar, billion with a B, fishing industry. Oh hey, I didn't see you there. Come on, let's walk and talk. So, despite efforts from the DNR and other conservation groups, the amount of invasive species in Indiana is still growing, despite efforts such as regulations on firewood transportation and regulations on water to prevent the spread of invasive species like carp. We are still seeing a rise over the past 50 years in the amount of invasive species in Indiana and the larger Great Lakes region. The problem with invasive species is that they outcompete other species for resources. They also alter and destroy marine habitats and cause damage to property and industry.
We consulted a former DNR employee to see what he had to say about local invasive species and what problems they represent to our environment.
I used to work there after I left LTV Steel. While I was there, it seemed to me like the problem was getting worse, and I'm sure it was, and still is. The problem was getting worse when I was there. There was a lot of talk about solutions, how to cure it, how to get rid of it, how to fix it. But now I don't know what they're doing.
And what was your name again?
My name is Johnny.
Thank you. While some may claim that invasive species are good for certain environmental niches because they provide some service such as the Asian carp, which was initially brought to the United States for the purposes of cleaning, this is not true. This is not what we believe, as the population has grown out of hand and causes more harm than good, which we will show later in our presentation. Now, despite current efforts by the DNR and other conservation groups, the amount of invasive species has grown over the past 50 years. Invasive species can be found everywhere in Indiana and everywhere in everyday life as well. Among the many solutions proposed to fight invasive species, one of them is the Lacey Act. The Lacey Act of 1900 is currently the United States' top tool to fighting invasive species. What the Lacey Act does is it prevents the spread of invasive species via human transportation. However, measures like the Lacey Act have failed because the Lacey Act requires a special counsel anytime they want to add an invasive species to the list of prohibited transports. And additionally, once an invasive species is transported, it's already too late. It's already spread. We need decisive action, and we need it now. From what our field expert said, and from what all of the data that we have shown and will show has said, we need action, and we need to tell our legislators to implement solutions that really work instead of relying on measures that are broken and don't work, such as the Lacey Act.
Education about invasive species is incredibly important for increasing awareness of their impacts as well as awareness of the solutions to them.
Now that you learned some background information surrounding the invasive species in our local area, let us take you on a trip to learn more about the Japanese barberry, the emerald ash borer, the tree of heaven, and the Asian carp. So let's go!